वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्.
Hi, and welcome to Geeta Girl. My name is Sharmila, and the Geeta Girl podcast is about how to live skillfully and be your best self by using the advice in the Bhagavad Gita. Jai Sri Krishna, Shayla.
Jai Shri Krishna, Sharmila. This is our third episode in season 6, focused on boundaries, all things boundaries. The first podcast was focused on why you have boundaries. The second one was focused on when you establish boundaries. And this third one will be focused on how we establish boundaries. So we know that they're important. We know when we need to establish them, but how exactly do we communicate our boundaries to people at work, people in our families, and to our friends? So we will be giving you examples of all of those as well. Thank you to those of you who shared your examples of times when it was difficult for you to establish a boundary. We will be sharing those examples in this podcast, and hopefully it'll be helpful to everyone else. So let's get started on this very important episode on how do we go about setting our boundaries. How do we do this?
Okay, your personal boundary marks what is your responsibility and what belongs to you, and equally important, what does not belong to you. Your personal boundary indicates what you are willing to accept as behavior towards you and what you are willing to give of yourself to others. And the very important function of boundaries is that they protect your mental and physical well-being, which, according to the Bhagavad Gita, this is essential. Without being physically and mentally whole and safe, you cannot perform your duties in the best way possible. So, according to Lord Krishna, establishing boundaries is not a luxury, it's a necessity in order for you to do what you're supposed to do on this planet and in your life.
I think this is an especially important point. This point really resonates with me a lot because sometimes we think that establishing boundaries is selfish. Letting people know where and when they cannot cross a line with you sometimes feels uncomfortable. It feels selfish. It feels like you're not giving enough of yourself. But I really like this idea that it's all part of you doing your dharma or duty. It's protecting you so that you can actually serve yourself and serve others and serve the world around you, whether it's people at work or in your family, your friends, even better because you are protecting yourself and making sure that you take care of yourself physically and mentally. So I really love that way of looking at it. It's not being selfish at all. It's making sure that you can optimally do the things that are important to you and take care of things and people that are important to you in the best way possible.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shayla, as does the Bhagavad Gita. And I just want to add a little phrase that rings in my ears that somebody very wise told me. Serving the self is not self-serving. Those are two totally different things.
I love it. I love that. I want that on a pillow.
In the Gita, Lord Krishna says in chapter 3, verse 8, he says that it's very important to take action to maintain your physical and mental health and well-being, because without doing that, how are you going to perform your duty? It's right there in black and white. Growing up and also in extended family settings, sometimes women or daughter-in-laws are taught that you don't matter. All that matters is that you serve. Keep serving your husband, keep serving your children, keep serving your in-laws, keep serving your aunts, uncles, elders. That just seems to be the sort of unspoken subtext of keep serving, just keep doing, and everything will be okay. No, everything will not be okay because I will run myself into the ground. My mental and physical health matters. Everyone's mental and physical health matters. I matter because we are all part of the same cosmos, because we are all part of the same divine. I matter, which is something I was never taught. In fact, I was taught the opposite.
I think that's true. That notion of women having to be something for everyone and give and give and give and not take crosses cultural boundaries. I think it's something that is fairly universal. And we're going to talk about a reader example of how this give, give, give was also true for her husband. So it also crosses gender boundaries too. But I think this idea of other people's expectations is something that all of us can understand. And sometimes those expectations feel too much. And the Geeta's giving you permission to use your voice to say, no, thank you. Nope, not today.
How do I express my boundaries? In the book, appropriately titled Boundaries by Henry Cloud and John Townsend, they say that everyone expresses their boundaries either clearly with consciously thought out words and actions, expressing what you will and won't accept, or you express your boundaries unclearly through anger, resentment, passive aggression, frustration. They say that everyone expresses their boundaries. The question is, how are you going to do it? You're going to do it clearly or you're going to do it unclearly.
Are they spying on me? All of those words, anger, resentment, passive aggression, frustration, those sadly ring a little bit true for me. But I do think it's important here for listeners to take a little pause and just think about how you more often than not express your boundaries, whether you think you do it clearly, be honest with yourself, or unclearly. And also if that differs depending on the person that you're communicating your boundaries to. So just take a minute to think about that, because the rest of this podcast will be helpful to you if you can reflect on the ways that you express your boundaries.
That's a great tip, Shayla. I think we're all in agreement that we are better off expressing our boundaries clearly and consciously so everyone knows where they stand and where you stand. Another great phrase that rings in my ears is to be clear is to be kind. To be unclear is to be unkind.
That makes so much sense. When people haven't been clear to me, they haven't expressed to me what they need. And it's so frustrating to think that you have to read between people's lines and read their mind. Thinking of a very specific person in my mind. And
Yeah.
she doesn't know who she is. But it's true. I mean, it is a kindness if you express to someone what your boundaries are or how you want them to treat you or what you're willing to do and not do. And while they may not be thrilled to hear it, at least it's clear and they know how to work around it. And they also know where they stand with you. I don't think that we can underestimate the importance of that. I really love this phrase about clearness as a reflection of kindness.
I'm going to give you an example. I have a dear friend that I grew up with, and he has an older sister who is much older than him. But whenever he'd visit her, they would inevitably have a fight by the end of it. As much as they love each other, they would kind of get on each other's nerves. He recently came back and he said, everything has changed. My whole relationship with my sister has changed.
What happened?
He told me he's been doing a lot of spiritual work and self-reflection and reading. He's very interested in growing and evolving. And he said, I was visiting her in India and I had several business meetings planned. And also, I'm in India, so I wanted to get a couple of massages in because they're cheap and they're great. He said, for the first time, rather than asking permission or working around her schedule, I just stated, I have these meetings from 12 to 4, I'll be with you for breakfast and I'll be with you for dinner, but count me out for this chunk of time. And then tomorrow morning, I'm not even going to have breakfast with you because I have this massage. So he said, I was very clear about the time I needed. I said, well, how did she take it? He goes, totally fine. Absolutely fine. She was like, okay, great. And what I realized is that because of the fear that I needed to be subservient to my older sister, it was all in my mind. Whereas when I was very open, this is what I need, these are my schedules, she was like, sure. And he goes, for the first time, we were together for 5 days and we didn't fight, not once.
She was probably like, yeah, I'm happy you're taking care of yourself. Or I have something else to do. It's great. I don't have to feel like I have to cook for you for every meal also. So please go ahead and go get breakfast elsewhere. Or whatever the reason is. I think this is such a great example of kind of underestimating people. Sometimes we create this sort of fictionalized interaction in our mind, like he did, and sort of blow it up, that this person is going to, be furious and enraged because we've said, no, I can't do dinner tonight. I'm just exhausted, or I can't do that favor for you. I have another obligation. I have too many things on my calendar. Whatever it is, we feel like that person is going to lose their mind. But like he said with this example, she was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So just say it, just do it, just put your boundaries out there, and whatever the reaction is, you'll be able to deal with it. And more often than not, it's going to be fine. I'm saying this to myself. Honestly, this is really like some self-dialogue here, but I do love this example. I think it's a really good one.
The Sanskrit word for boundary is maryada. It's the same word that means boundary, dignity, respect, and order. So your boundary is actually an act of dignity, respect, and order, and should be expressed with that conviction in mind and not with guilt or apology or sort of groveling or asking permission, as that will backfire. Being centered, like this childhood friend of mine said, I was centered and I said it with conviction, with no guilt, with no shame. It wasn't an apologetic tone. He said, in the past, I think my apologetic tone, oh, is it okay if I do this? That irritated her because she was like, of course it's okay. And he interpreted that she was irritated with him tending to his needs, but it wasn't. I think it was irritation at his kind of groveling attitude, his inappropriate attitude.
Yes. I think this happens quite a lot. I mean, it certainly does with me. When you do ask for what you need in this kind of apologetic tone, it's true. It's against what this Maryada word is, right? It doesn't give you any sense of dignity or respect. It makes me sound, wishy-washy, like maybe my boundary isn't that important. It's not showing the other person that you are deserving of this boundary. It's important to you, and this is solidly where it's set. It doesn't communicate any of those things when you have that kind of grovelly, apologetic tone. But I do think it happens a lot. I do think a lot of times when we're setting this boundary, we're like, I'm so sorry, but I really can't XYZ. Or I feel so badly, but I can't, whatever it is I can't do. Instead of just taking out that apology, start the sentence after the I'm sorry, swallow it. Swallow the I'm sorry. Swallow all of that.
There's nothing to be sorry about.
There's nothing to be sorry about. You're treating yourself with the same dignity and respect that you would want others to treat you. And this way, they can also respect your boundary all the more because you're not sounding like, I don't know, maybe I will change my mind. If you push me, maybe I'll give in to you. No, this is my boundary. Thank you. And it's appreciated by both sides. Shows you respect, and it gives the other person a clear idea of where you stand. And it also reflects that this is the line I'm drawing in the sand. Thank you.
And this is who I am. So it's very important to be centered and speak with maryada, with dignity. If you are feeling uncomfortable, guilty, or apologetic, the other person will also unconsciously react to that energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 9, verse 29, Lord Krishna unequivocally states the fact that I am equally present in all beings. So, this attitude of equality and respect for yourself and for others will increase the likelihood of others mirroring the same attitude back to you. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I matter. Every single person, every single being on this planet matters. I'm not lower than you. I'm not higher than you. We are all equal. So having that attitude of equality and respect, maryada, that word, dignity, will increase the likelihood of somebody taking your boundary well. So, back to this question of how do we set our boundaries? First and foremost, the tone. You set the tone. Boundaries, as with everything else in life, should be expressed with equanimity. Lord Krishna loves the word equanimity, which means calm, clear, and even tempered. The stronger you want the boundary to be, the calmer and clearer and more even tempered your tone should be. Very important, because the stronger your message, the clearer and calmer you need to be so that the other person does not react negatively to your grovelly tone or to your overreactive tone or to your guilty tone. You just want to be calm, matter of fact. Keep your cool, as difficult as that may be.
I really like that phrase, you set the tone, because you are communicating to the other person how you want them to respond to you. And that conversation will go so much better. It's respectful and dignified to all parties.
Somebody wise told me many years ago. I've realized doing this podcast, I have a lot of wise people who've told me wise things. They said it's all about music and lyrics. If the music is good, you pause to hear the lyrics in the music. If the music is terrible, you don't care about the lyrics. It's like, no, this sounds terrible. You zone out. So it's all about getting the tone right. Then somebody will listen to your words.
I think we can all reflect on somebody who delivered something in a very loud, shouty way, and you didn't hear what they said. You were just so focused on their tone. That's so poetic. What a lovely way to communicate that, though, with the music and the lyrics. I like that a lot.
So we've talked about tone, we've talked about dignity, we've talked about equality. Another aspect of how do I communicate my boundaries is what am I going to say?
It's so important.
What you are doing when you are stating a boundary is you are talking about yourself. Your boundary begins and ends with you. Sometimes your boundary is open for discussion, and sometimes it's not. But you are talking about yourself, how you feel, and what you need. Using appropriate language, giving appropriate consequences, and expressing appropriately what you will and will not tolerate is very important. For example, if somebody's mode of communication with you is shouting, and you really don't want them to shout anymore, instead of screaming, "Stop shouting!" Right? When you say stop shouting, you're giving a directive to the other person. You are not talking about yourself. You're not describing yourself. But the boundary describes you. It is showing who you are. So, a more effective way of expressing your boundary is when I get shouted at, it makes me feel unsafe and frustrated, and I don't really hear what you're saying. And I would like to hear what you're saying, but this mode of communication does not work for me. If you shout at me again, I will ... fill in the blanks. I will have to walk away. I will need to end this conversation. Whatever that consequence will be, it's very important for you to describe yourself and your feelings and the consequences and the plan of action you will follow if this boundary is crossed again.
You used a calm tone when you said that. You showed respect for the other person, of course, in using that tone. But most of all, you showed respect for yourself. If you spoke to me like that, I know now the ball is in my court. And
Correct.
I have to change my behavior if
Correct.
I want to communicate well with you. By saying this, you're demanding respect from me by communicating like that with me, which I think is really important. You've stated what you need, what you're not going to put up with. It was very clear. And now my actions need to reflect that I listen to that. And if I continue to yell, well, you've told me what's going to
Yep.
happen.
If you continue to yell, it's no longer my problem. That is
That's
now
right.
your problem.
That's right. If you're having this conversation, it's obviously with somebody that you care about and have some close relationship with, and you want to maintain that relationship. And I'm telling you what I need. I'm telling you the parameters by which I can do my duty to you, my dharma to you well.
Yeah, and it's because you want to save the relationship,
That's
right?
right.
That you express these boundaries.
Right.
Because I stated, I do want to hear what you say. I
That's
just
right.
can't hear it in the way you're shouting at me.
The way you're delivering it, I can't hear it.
Your boundaries are in order to save the relationship, because without boundaries, the relationship ends in passive aggression, resentment, anger, and it'll be over before you know it.
That's right.
It's very important to give appropriate consequences for your boundary being crossed, and following through is key. And I'll give you an example. The amount of times that I have, when my kids were younger, said to them, if you do this, I'm going to take your phone away for a month. And of course, I didn't.
Maybe an hour. Yeah.
Right. Or you could say, if you do this, I'm taking your phone away for a day. And I mean it. And then you have to have the gumption to make sure you follow through. Because if you don't follow through, then that's on you. Then your word means nothing.
That's right.
The amount of times that I have expressed boundaries and not followed through, whether it's with my children or with other people, and then I get upset when they do it again, that's not on them. That's on me, because I have shown that I am not as good as my word.
That's right. Think about in a work situation, if you tell people that you're not going to work past a certain time on a project and they still give you something to do at like 4 p.m. And if you do it, then guess what? They're going to do it again. If you've communicated it to them and you still do that work, well, you've shown them that you don't respect your own boundary. So why should they?
Exactly. You need to choose realistic consequences and follow through. You need a balance even in your boundaries. You need to be realistic. Your boundaries can't be too extreme in terms of consequences or even time frame, because it becomes difficult for you to follow through.
Yeah. You can't say things like, I will never again, or this is permanent, this is forever, or any of that kind of language, because now you've really kind of painted yourself in a corner. Do something that's realistic and allows for flexibility for you too, because boundaries can change. You can change your mind. It might be situation dependent. So give yourself some room to be flexible while still communicating what you need from that situation.
Nothing is forever, nothing is permanent. Situations change, your boundaries change, other people change. In the Geeta, in chapter 2, verses 13 and 14, Lord Krishna says that life is always changing. Situations are always changing. Your duties are always changing. And it's very important to acknowledge that and accept that. And so stating words that indicate that this is for now causes less anxiety and stress for you, as well as less anxiety and stress for the other person.
That's right. In that shouting example, what you said was, I'm going to walk away until you can talk to me in a calm manner. By not doing a boundary balance, you might say, I'm never speaking to you again. Now, I mean, If that's a member of your family, is it realistic? Probably not. They might shout again. Are you never going to speak to them again? No.
Also, if you use hyperbolic words like never, there's no way, if you use such anxiety inducing words, you're almost guaranteed the other person will have a strong reaction to your tone and your words and will push back, and it'll end up being a fight.
100%.
So it's very important to remember that this is the boundary for now. Situations are always changing, and our boundaries are always changing accordingly. Being open to the possibility of change in the future and expressing that this is the situation for now is realistic and calming to everyone's nervous systems.
So, as I mentioned, we got a question from a listener. So, thank you very much for sending this in. So, here's the question about setting boundaries. And I think this is an example that a lot of us can relate to. So, the question is, my husband and I have been married for many years, and his family keeps asking for him to come over to their house for too many unnecessary family obligations. My husband is exhausted and doesn't want to do these obligations, but doesn't know how to say no to them. His thought process is, what am I going to say to them? Should I tell them that I'm not coming over anymore?
This is a great question that relates to exactly what we're talking about. No, he can't say, I'm not coming over anymore, because that is too strong. Like you said, Shayla, it's painting himself into a corner, and it's not even true or believable or realistic. So, what we suggest you do, listener, is take it one event at a time. It'll be less stressful for you, less stressful for your parents. Take it one event at a time and think clearly and truthfully about how you really feel and then express that. If your parents are going to ask you to come over, you can say, I'm really tired tonight, so I'm going to stay at home with my wife and kids. Period. That's it. No other explanation. It's one event. Again, back to this idea of you are explaining how you feel and your boundary. And you're not asking permission. You are telling them you are tired and you have made the decision that you need to stay home.
You can express it, as we said, in a way that's calm and respectful, especially because you're talking to your family, and in a way that clearly communicates what you need at that moment. And you're also not saying, I'll never help you again, because obviously her husband will. We will help our family, we will help our friends, but take each situation at a time. You don't have to create this rule book for you and your family for every time and say, you asked me to do too many things for you, I'm never doing them again. No, just take each situation on its own merit, weigh that request, and respond accordingly.
This is a tricky situation. When somebody gets married, you have two sets of priorities to your parents and priorities to your new nuclear family.
All of us hold multiple identities, right? And we all have multiple roles. Some of us are someone's partner, some of us are parents, some of us are colleagues. Hopefully, all of us have friends, we're children, we're aunts, we're uncles. We have many roles and many obligations to different people. And you have to delineate among all those different groups what your responsibility to them is, what your role in their life is going to be, and what you're willing to give. And it depends on circumstance. It depends on timing. I mean, there's so many things that come into play that you really have to take the time to reflect and make a decision accordingly on what that boundary is. And it's extremely personal to every single one of us. One person's boundary is certainly not going to be the other person's boundary. But what we're trying to stress here is that you have to respect yourself enough and have enough dignity to understand what that boundary is and very carefully and clearly communicate it. in a respectful manner without worrying about how it's going to be received. That's the key, right? Because if you say to your parents, like in this example, if he's like, I'm sorry, I'm tired right now. And if his parents are upset about it, oh, okay. I mean, that's tough, right? You don't want to upset people. You certainly don't want to upset your family. But the truth is that you also have to communicate what you need so that you can be the best in that situation. He can be the best husband and father to his family, and later on be the best son to his parents, and not a son that's doing things out of resentment and obligation, but because he wants to, because he has set that boundary. Really important to understand that you're drawing this line in the sand for yourself, but also to preserve and maintain your relationships.
Correct. And it makes for healthier relationships on the whole. It really does.
Also, if he was exhausted and he went over there to do this favor for his parents, first of all, they're going to know, because is he going to show up with a smile on his face when he's asked to do this favor he doesn't want to do? No, he will be upset about it. And the next time his parents ask him to do something, he'll be equally upset and feel more resentful. And guess what? That's going to impact his relationship with them. So by setting that boundary, he's helping out his own family, he's helping himself. And honestly, he's doing best by his parents as well.
Anytime you need to express a boundary, a great tip to make expressing your boundaries easier is to prepare and practice exactly what you're going to say. Think about what you'd like to express. Express it with clear, concise thought. Write it down on a piece of paper. Make sure you have realistic consequences, which you are comfortable following through on and implementing. And practice what you're going to say and the tone you're going to say it in. Remember, the less words you say, the more somebody is going to listen. In any situation that you're going into, have what you're going to say ready. Be ready. It can be, as in this example, what this gentleman wants to express and say to his parents, or in any other situation where you think you may have to express your boundaries. You might be fearful that you may be bullied. Have a strategy. Have an exit strategy. You can say, oh, I've got a phone call, gotta go. Or if you'd like to address the situation, you can say something like, that was inappropriate, or I'm uncomfortable with that question, or I'm not going to answer it right now. Have those phrases on hand so you can say them when you need them. This practice is part of building up that protective shell, which Lord Krishna talks about, that we should all be like a tortoise with a strong protective shell.
As in the example with the brother communicating with his sister when he was in India, he was ready and his sister was very accepting. I think once you get in the habit of expressing yourself, others will come to expect it from you as well. And it will just get easier. Like everything we talk about, it gets easier as you practice. So take some time to reflect on what it is you need and where your boundaries are. And as we mentioned, they're unique to each situation and each person you're communicating with. In your mind, sort of practice how you're going to communicate to them. And then once you do, you may be surprised by their reaction. It might be more positive than you anticipated. But even if it isn't, you're respecting yourself and you're respecting that relationship and communicating what you need, which is critical.
Shelley, you mentioned that somebody may take it well, but they may not. An important note, expressing your boundaries is not easy. Rarely is it easy. It's very important to build up your inner strength first. Meditate, chanting, exercising, building a strong support system of people who support you. Take a self-help class, read a self-help book. Very important to have your own inner compass be strong before dealing with a situation where the pushback may be challenging to deal with. Very important to be strong, grounded, and centered within yourself before expressing your boundaries. You need a strong protective shell like a tortoise, and also managing your expectations is very important. Chapter 2, verse 47 in the Geeta, do your best and leave the rest. The results are not up to you. Somebody else's reaction does not belong to you. You are doing your duty. You are acting with maryada, expressing your boundaries with dignity, doing it for your own self-respect and for the respect of the other person. And letting go of the results helps you to stay calm and focused. Creating your own inner strength gives you some emotional distance from somebody else's emotions. Their emotions don't belong to you. That is none of your business. And having realistic expectations. Often people don't like it when you express your boundaries, especially if that's not the norm of your behavior. People don't like it. It's very inconvenient for them. Expecting this reaction, they may well try and knock down your boundaries and blame, shame, and guilt and manipulate you. It's a very common response. Understand they are playing their part. Your part is to hear them out with detachment and objectivity, then maintain your boundaries accordingly. That's why being centered and valuing your own well being is so important. They're playing their part, you play yours.
Perfect ending to this third podcast. We have a lot more questions that we weren't able to get to, but we will save them all for our fourth podcast, where we will continue to talk about setting boundaries and use your examples to illustrate how you can set them with different people in your life. And so if you have a question about boundaries, please send them to us at sharmila@geetagirl.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Geeta Girl Podcast. And please DM us, send us a message, send us your questions, send us your examples. And as you heard in this podcast, we love to include them.
There's so much more to discuss about boundaries. How to deal with pushback when you state your boundaries, how to deal with someone who does not respect your boundaries, how to deal with guilt when you set a boundary. We're also going to be talking about boundaries with yourself and your own negative tendencies in our upcoming episodes. And in our next episode, we will be answering many more listener questions. So stay tuned. Please don't forget to rate and review Geeta Girl. And please look out for our upcoming episode next month.
Thank you so much for listening. And remember to practice those boundaries.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam Tansujanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vandev Jagadguram